Alright guys, I can see the red line moving, so I'm pretty sure that the sound is good, but if you guys can just give me a quick sound check, let me know if it was okay. Alright. Sean coming in buying the 5 tickets right off the bat there. He's looking down at Will being like, ha, you bought just 1 ticket? 1 ticket? Clear? Alright, cool. Thank you. Yeah, so we will see if I'm able to go to the full chart school tonight. Lacrosse practice started up tonight. So, yeah. Kids were definitely out of shape, and my voice is definitely not quite back up to where it's used to. You take 3 months off, and it's like, man, you're yelling at some kids. Interesting enough, we only had 1 child out there today that was like, oh, God, I think I'm going to throw up, and it was my kid. And, that was perfect kind of payment. It was kind of like, hey, listen, remember I told you how hard it was going to be when it's time to start doing practice, and you told me whatever, Dad? Well, guess what? Paybacks, my boy. Paybacks. So many of the kids were tired, and it was pretty interesting. But, yeah, my voice is already starting to kind of go. So hopefully, it holds through the rest of the night, or through the rest of chart school at least. All right, so markets today. Kind of an interesting day. Today was the first day. Kind of the rest of the big numbers come in later this week, but today was kind of the first kind of shot. Lots obviously going on in the news. I heard all kinds of stuff today. I mean, news was just kind of scattered. It depends who you're looking at, what they're talking about. I will say one thing with everything going on right now. I got to say there's definitely some really inspirational quotes that people have said that I had never heard before. Thought they were great. Really heartfelt kind of quotes. I'm not going to go on like a big soapbox and start going into quotes and everything with you guys. But really, I will say definitely some very cool quotes and beliefs and what people are saying. And, the rest of it, I think it's all made up. It's there's definitely some funny things that, cops are addressing like local people, like residents, like, and then they're destroying their own cop car for insurance money. And it's like all this. I was like, what? I'm like, none of this makes any sense. So there's obviously some crazy stuff out there, but it's been interesting, time to reflect back on things. As far as how the markets are reacting to it today, the non-farm number today, huge miss, right? Supposed to come in at, -9, came in at 2.7. That's a gigantic miss, right? I don't think people were expecting. I don't think they knew what to do with it. Is really kind of what, they were like, wait, what? So I think it caught the market by surprise and was kind of like, well, I don't want to admit that I'm wrong. Do you want to admit that you're wrong? Type situation today. ISM numbers were good. Final services PMI are good. Yeah, for the most part, I mean, everything news-wise today came out really in a positive light. And, looking at what the 24-hour pip changes are, you're seeing the euro up slightly. The pound obviously down a bit today. And we talked about yesterday after those large movements, you may get somewhat of a retrace. And we did, but it wasn't really huge. Again, the Aussie dollar, both the Aussie pairs are collapsing back. The euro yen was dropping back again. So everything over the last kind of 2 days that has spiked is more or less kind of calming and then starting to retrace back again. So again, that's what we typically see. Remember, everything is like a rubber band, right? You push too far one direction, it snaps back and tends to go in the other opposite direction as well. And that's everything, That's just the way life works. So yeah, so that's really what the news. Now, tomorrow should be interesting. Tomorrow we have this monetary policy statement in Europe. So none of the information that I've seen come out of Europe has really been positive. And they're talking about how it could be worse. When you're looking at some of the news over here, it's interesting. The COVID-19 recession is over. It's set to scale up stimulus as new data could indicate and need to do more. So you're seeing positive data in a lot of places, except the ECB. Right, in the European Union. And again, the German stimulus package is out. So, I mean, again, you're seeing a lot over here. I don't really hear us talking too much about additional stimulus because people are starting to go back, right? And again, you're talking about, 4 hours ago, May's unemployment rate could exceed 20%. But it could exceed 20% from 4 hours ago. But today's number was not as bad, right? So, yeah, kind of interesting. And remember, people are going back to work. So there's going to be less people going back to, less people going into that unemployment status. So, yeah, kind of interesting how it comes out. Like some of the statements people have made. Trader loses his entire life savings on one insanely risky position. I don't know if you guys read this or not. We've actually heard about this one before. Bank of Canada maintains what it's doing. OPEC set to meet again. I do think this OPEC meeting will actually be pretty interesting. They want to have continued talks. Russia is ready to stop the cut now because they realize how much money they're losing. And trust me, Russia's doing the math, right? Before we cut, it was like $10 and we were making this X amount of money. Now we've cut, well, we're making more, but it's as much as we could make, right? I think they're going to get a little sneaky here pretty soon on Saudi Arabia. And Saudi Arabia's like, no, we should hold it till the end of the year. It's like, well, you have deeper pockets because you've been, gouging the system for forever. And Russia's kind of one of the newer guys. So it'd be an interesting meeting. I think something will come out of this one. Talking about extending it here. Yeah, from January to April. It's kind of like, that's a long time. It's a long time, especially if demand comes back and that price starts spiking up in the air and they're seeing everybody else make money from it. Yeah, greed will take over. Greed will take over a little bit there. So that's what we have. Going into tomorrow, like I said, ECB information will be important. The trade balance will be important. The unemployment claims obviously is not as big, but I definitely, again, you're seeing this number under 2 now, and we'll see if we can get even lower than that. Yeah, so that's, again, I think tomorrow is going to be kind of the lull before we get into all this on Friday, but I think this should be pretty interesting tomorrow. Yeah, so we'll see. All right, indicator-wise, or the scanner-wise. So the scanner has an interesting kind of, and again, when we have pullback days, which is what I could consider today, is kind of more or less what it is. I mean, obviously in the pound, the Aussie, you're going to see a lot of setups. Why? Because things were trending in a direction. On the lower time frames, they are pulling back, so it gives us really setups for everything. So it's one of those things. You're just seeing everything across the board right now is in a setup situation. And again, Aussie CAD on the daily, you're like, wait a second, this is all up. Well, yeah, but it's already flipped and it had one day of down. So hence, it's an uptrend setup because it's in that pullback phase. But the question is, did it bounce off something? So should these be kind of bearish positions? Pound is kind of split across the board. Again, pulling back versus the Swiss, the dollar, and the yen. And again, losing some ground to the Aussie, the CAD, and the New Zealand. And that kind of makes sense. We've seen those pairs have a bit more strength. And again, the pound was the leader just above those commodity currencies. So it makes sense that, it's losing a little bit of ground. Because again, it's a rubber band, right? The strongest is not the weakest now, but it pretty much is right across the board, right? And again, that's the rubber banding effect. And again, you've heard me mention these things before, but Bollinger Bands are kind of the same idea, right? The reversion to the mean. It's kind of what they're doing. Now, interesting enough, looking over at the majors over here, you see the Swiss is more sideways than anything else. Most people would think that the Swiss right now would be really kind of going crazy. It's like, oh my God, we got riots, we got this. But thus far, it really hasn't affected Wall Street or anything political that much. And again, this is more of a geopolitical-based pair, not kind of a domestic-based pair. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. It's moving less than what I thought it would. Like right now, you guys can see that it's moved only 4 pips in the last 24 hours. I'm not talking about, I don't believe that this would have like a 70 or 80 pip move, but I do believe it would be moving more than 4, right? Just kind of my feeling on it. Dollar CAD, that's definitely one I've been looking to get short or long in. Again, it just was way too far down, way too quickly. And whenever you see that, you tend to get retraces. Now, 135 is not a number that is out of the ordinary. I mean, that's not a bad place for the dollar CAD. Remember, months ago, it used to float between 36 and 32-ish, in that 4-cent range. So, it's kind of back to where it technically should be. So, it is what it is. And then obviously Aussie dollar, Euro dollar, pound dollar, New Zealand dollar. Those are all set up to go versus against the dollar. And again, we saw a bit of a retracement today. The euro was up still a little bit, pound down. Dollar CAD was up, dollar Swiss was up, dollar yen was up, Aussie was down. So we saw kind of what I would say mild to moderate strength today inside of the dollar. And we may get some movement tomorrow, but I think the dollar is going to really be hinged on what we see on Friday. That'll be the big thing. The non-farm is typically the big one, the unemployment number. While I think it's very important going forward, until everybody's back to work, I think, a lot of the dollar movement is really going to kind of sink in on Friday. That's why that non-farm payroll number is so big. And again, looking at today's number, right? Today's kind of first shadow into that. Big difference. Big difference. So the question is, will there be a big surprise this week for non-farm numbers? Yeah, should be interesting. All right. So that's what we got. Again, euro kind of mixed. CAD, again, I'd say more on the positive than anything else. You can see in the two CAD-based pairs, again, it wasn't quite as good as the Aussie and New Zealand. That's the only difference there, and those are kind of the caveats. But yeah, it's very telling. I would say it's very telling. Again, this is what a reversal day looks like. You're going to have setups all across the board, But unfortunately, when those setups are bouncing off zones, that's where you got to be a bit more cautious. All right. So let's dive over into charts because that's really what it's going to make the most sense tonight. All right. So Aussie. I'm going to go to the higher time frame. So we could see that Aussie was way, way, way up top. You want to come out? Bird's like, you're doing all this talking. Let me out of the cage. Come on. I'll let you out. Come on. You can come out. Come on. They're looking at me. They're like, wait, what? You're going to take us out? You can see we're way high on the curve. So we were already talking about how to find kind of a short position here. Now, again, it is high. This could just be a bit of a kind of a pullback before we make an attempt a bit higher. And you can see we didn't quite touch those daily zones. But on the smaller time frames, there was minor zones in there. And it snapped back, and we got a little bit of red now. And the question is, will it stabilize here with the wick, or will this kind of be the rollover? Now, after 3 days of basically just straight up, you got to kind of wonder. It's like, hey, that's kind of a very kind of sharp move, right? Last time we saw sharp moves, you're thinking, you know, we see some pops in this one. And again, going to the 4 hour, you can see here, we kind of had this failure to go higher situation on the 4 hour. You know, we can drop it down and you can actually shrink this zone a little bit. Even down in the 15, it's a little bit harder because it gets very, very small. So you pretty much have to use this in the Aussie dollar. And you're talking about 30 pips, so not the cleanest of areas. It is quite large, like I said. Going down to the 15, you can get a little zone up here up top, and you're talking about 14 pips. But there was that wick over wick that we saw, right? So you can kind of have one zone up top, which is marked off by the indicator, and then obviously there's a wick over wick sitting right here. That was tested, so it's kind of like, kind of got to be looking for that one, right? Yeah, when you see those things in there. And again, I'm dropping all the way down the 15 minutes to be able to find that and find an area that's been retested. So, you know, not a bad mover off that area, 14 pips. You can see that we just passed through it about 30 minutes ago to the downside. I actually had this one targeted a little bit lower. I had this one targeted down in this range. We had such a great little pop, right? I mean, price pushed up, it slammed back down again. It's still printed green, and then bam, it popped like 3 candles straight up. That's actually where I had the target. I didn't have the target where it was sitting, so I'm actually looking for this to come a little bit lower. We've been trailing the stop in this one to the downside. So I think that we're going to end up coming back down, or the way I'm looking at the analysis-wise, I'm looking for it to come into this range, over here into this 68, 62 range. I think a secondary target on this one, again, is probably down here. We can bump it up to get a little better of a view here. But you can see last time price was here, it did kind of bounce off this little basing, this little cup right here, right? This little pop, touched, and boom. Came back down, retested, and boom. So that's why it was important to have this target here right around that 1 to 5. But again, based off of the way that this kind of exploded through, I was trying to get out a little bit early, right? But I'm looking at this and thinking, hey, listen, there's a zone sitting right in here. We already know that, again, is it super clean? No, because it came down and it kind of based sideways. It kind of came up. It didn't really leave, and it popped okay. And this one just kind of briefly went into it. So what I'm also looking right now is kind of looking at this level right here, this area right here, and saying, hey, that was a big pop, right? Price launched itself up and then kind of pulled back and then stabilized on that zone, but we got nothing in here. So what I'm thinking is there may be a Harry Potter trade setup taking over something along in this range. And again, it'll probably be more over here that it would occur. But figuring out how to kind of, again, getting your profit target, waiting. Again, it could bounce and it may shoot all the way back up again. And that's one way to play it. And again, it depends on what's going on. You know, when is it going to happen? Is it close to a U.S. news release? Did it grind into there? Is it basing right above the zone? So it may not be an instantaneous long. But one way, you know, one thing I'm looking for is if I do have a break below this, I'm looking for a retracement back up to be able to take this thing short. Again, it may break here. It may not break here, right? This is actually there. This one, I'm going to move this to the side so you can see a little bit better right there. Okay, so I'm looking for this break, right in here on the 30 minute. The 1 to 3 is before kind of the bounce over here. It's just a little bit low from where I'd like to get it, but again, I still think it's a fine area. You know, again, it's the first kind of bounce is where it would kind of come across at. So I'm kind of looking at this. Again, it may bounce and I may never get an entry into it, but I'm looking for this is a potential trade coming down the road, down the pipe. I think we may have something, you know, here taking it back. And what I'm basing off is we had a large pop and then we've been basing. So nothing is in that range. Nothing is tested in that range. There's no pullbacks in that range. It should be a drop into that zone back down into this, you know, the 68 or 67, 90-ish range is kind of where the target's going to be for that one. And like I said, it may bounce through 2 or 3 times first, but I'm holding this, you know, kind of on the radar. All right. Aussie yen. So Aussie yen also had a pop off the top. Aussie yen was a little bit harder to get into. Okay, so this one, you did have this one piece here. So there was this trade right here in the Aussie yen. Okay, and that was kind of the one you were looking at. Now, I'm gonna make this exactly right here, just so there's no questions about this one. It should snap right there. Okay, it literally just dinged through it. Okay, had you been short this position, you should have been able to cover the bid-ask spread on this one and get out. But it literally, and here I'll make it longer. You guys can see where the right there. Okay, so it barely it like raised it. So it was really, really close. The risk on this one was rather small. You guys can see I looked at this one earlier today. It was about 17, 18 pips. And it moved. It was a decent runner. And again, the entry on this one was really, really nice. And then again, the pullback was pretty nice on the downside as well. Whoa, birds off. I do actually think this one will continue to push lower. I think this will run into some problems, most likely in here. But I think this down here, kind of the same setup that we had for the Aussie yen or the Aussie dollar, would be down here coming in like the 74.60-ish range. There's also kind of a racetrack in here, although we do have a level sitting right in here that you got to be a bit cautious. So here's one, and then there's also this zone right here that may give us a little bit of resistance. So, if you extend that across, it didn't quite hit the same way. Hey! Man, being loud today. I'm about to put the baby's monkey in there. She got this like little monkey toy that they like attack. I don't know why. It's an orangutan. It's like smaller than them, but they like go to play with it and they like attack it and throw it all over the place. It's kind of funny. So again, the basic level here I think will be a little bit of a hiccup. I think here will be another little bit of a hiccup as well. And then I think this will be a bit of a, again, this is kind of the overall target would be coming back down to this zone. Okay, somewhere down here in the 73 range. Now, obviously this is going to need some help from the yen. Right now, let's see. We have trade balance numbers that come out now in about 10 minutes. That may help this one a little bit. Tomorrow there's nothing. Oops. Tomorrow there is nothing. And then going into Friday, obviously, there's nothing. God, why do I keep doing that? There we go. You guys can see Friday, just CAD and dollar. So we need a little bit of help. And then obviously the yen is going to have to help us. So Friday morning could give us that push that we need. Hopefully we're through this zone by then. I'm really hoping we're prices down in this range, this 74.50. I think there's a lot more potential to get into a long or short if we're near this zone than anything else. The way that it kind of crashed into here and then took off, I think that gives us the best opportunity for some type of a news-based trade. Now, I don't mind the top side, but again, it's already hit one all the way to the brink, actually went just slightly above, but not by the spread, and then again, touched again. So I'd like it to come down here. That's kind of what my goal is and my plan is. So hopefully, we'll see. But that's what I got for Aussie yen. Euro yen, again, this one did not have the big drop that this guy did. All right, Euro yen, you can see that this one kind of put in, and again, for you chart readers, you got this, then you got this, and then you got this. Right? I'm sure you guys know what that symbol is. I'm pretty sure you guys know what that symbol is. And where are you supposed to get in? When it breaks the neckline, right? And typically it would be from here to the top, and that would be your target, and that would put you right here, which also coincides with that supply zone, or that demand zone. So maybe some of you guys got into that one. I'm swinging this one until Friday. The Aussie? Yeah. Or Aussie or yen? Which one are you swinging? But yeah, so somebody out there is gonna take a picture of this one and be like, look at that, guys, textbook Head and Shoulders, rawr! Yeah, so somebody's gonna do Head and Shoulders and be like all over this one, and you could have just as easily like here. So here's the profit target, for the Head and Shoulders, right? Because you measure the top of the head and you put it down for a profit target, right? You guys all see me. So you're talking about, well, it's there. Here, I'll just move this over there. So that's how many pips profit it is. Or instead of messing with all those types of things, oh crap. Or you could have done this. Let's get rid of those. Could have got rid of those. You could have put in this and said, okay, there was the high, gave us a bearish candle, and right there. Now it's not all the way down. It's not all the way down there right now, but We'll see what it does. If this one continues to push down, instead of getting just the target, you're looking at about 53 pips versus about 20 pips. So it's the same thing. They're both short areas. Again, is your 1 to 3 good? There's a little bit of a bump right here, maybe a little bit of a pause. We're getting a little bit of a bounce off of right now. But is your 1 to 5 good? Your 1 to 5 actually may be a reasonable target as well. There's not really a bouncing level. And again, it's sitting at the very, very top of the last time we had a zone. It bounced up. It went sideways. It came in down and tested, and then it launched itself. So, you know, again, here is your one kind of sticking point. Here is your other sticking point. 1 to 3, 1 to 5. Not too bad, right? And again, failure to go higher situation in the end. And we had been talking about this, again, because of this. Again, even when we shrink this to make the rest of the candles look normal size, look at this ascent. The angle of this ascent is absolutely unreal. It's pretty crazy. It's funny, look at that. I marked off those two things, and look what we bracketed off on the daily. It's pretty funny. So I just drew those here on the 30-minute, and we talked about the two sticking points. Where are the sticking points? Here and here. And then on the daily, what do? We boxed off that kind of basing level. Exactly. Isn't that funny how that works out? So, again, because of this, we went right back up. And if you guys didn't see it, we did touch. This one's been a little bit different. Here, I'll go back down to the lower time frames. Actually, here, I'll just put the overlay on. Go up to give me the daily. There's the 4 hour. There's the daily. I don't know if you guys can see the daily zone up here. It's right here. And you see what we ran into for the daily? So, one of those things, a failure to go higher into a daily zone, I mean, it just screams short, right? So, and again, right there, right there. You guys can see it. Here, I'll move this so, show all time frames, 31 hour. Right there. All right. So, yep. So we're still short this guy. Looking to pound yen. So pound yen. You guys can see where this one is set up. We talked about this one a bit earlier today. This is one of the ones I posted in the channel. This was a zone that we had marked off. You can see we popped literally directly into it. We're still a little bit above now. Again, it did put a zone in, so this is actually where I would have moved the profit target to. It's not quite a 1 to 3. It's pretty close, but it's not quite there. And again, this was using a little bit bigger of a zone, right? So ideally, we like to get the 1 to 3, but because of the pop that we had here, you have to take it off of the top. So this one ended up being only about 70 pips grab on that one. It should have been total. You should have got 104 out of it, according to our analysis and what our rules are. But typically, if we have an opposing zone that steps in, you got to take it. And again, this was a pretty nice little level. You guys can see here as well. We had marked this one off, and this one, I believe, did we just off the gap? Yeah, the top of the section of the gap over here. It's this right here. So it was an hourly zone. Yeah, it was the hourly. It's the hourly gap, and then again, testing right here to show us there are sellers there, and boom, that's what we hit right there. Okay, so gap strike again. Brought these up multiple times, so just this one is a little bit farther back, but we ended up bouncing it, and we're right at profit target right now. So I do think this one has potential to come down to this 35, this 135.37. This is pretty mucky here. It did come back down. There was a nice little pop off this, and that's kind of the same area we've hit. But it's been hit 3 times right now. So I do think this one down to the 1 to 5 is probably okay if you're still in it. I would expect by, I don't know, London Open and stuff like that tomorrow, I think this one will be pulling back into that range. You know, really, I mean, you're kind of already in the short if you're in it. So not much we can do right now. You typically don't want to get into it once we're already in, and wait for that to come down. Now, as far as flipping this and looking for a buy, man, I don't know why the birds are a little crazy tonight. Here, you want this? You want this? No? Okay. I don't really have a great buy target on this one, really, until we get down to this green level, right down here. This is a nice little pullback, nice base, and then this is 3 candles straight up on the 4 hour. That's a really nice rally off that zone. This is all chopping here, so there's nothing in here that tells me we need to go long. If anything, I'd be looking more to get short because, again, based here, push down, push down, push down, and then this next push is going to be number 4 coming through that zone. So I still am bearish this position. Again, high on the curve. I like it. It came right off a zone on the hourly. It filled that gap, took us short. I mean, all these things are stacking in why we should be short if you're not already. and then there's nothing. So I think 134.50 is probably the target for this one to the downside. And there's a couple different factors. Again, tomorrow may be a little bit more slow, but Monday or Friday morning definitely could give us the boost to the downside. And again, that would be, again, this could be Brexit news, right, with the pound, or this could be, obviously Dow movement because of unemployment and non-farm, which would affect the yen directly. Okay, so again, short this position. This guy. So, same scenario. We marked this one, and I sent it out to the channel earlier today. It was kind of like an if this, then that. We had a nice, nice knockout bracket up there. We got close, but you guys can see we ended up missing it, and it came through and just tagged our target to the bottom side. We missed it by about 12 pips. So where the yen gave us that last little spike up again, this one didn't. It didn't make it up into the entry. So, wah. Unfortunately, we didn't get into this one. We missed it. It ended up hitting our profit target, so we have to take it off. But good example. Again, I use the same thing, a higher time frame level. We refined it down. We used it off of a gap. And again, this would have been a nice little knockout bracket. I think, yeah, the knockout actually would have taken itself out to the downside at this point. You can see that they are erased. So, not that one, obviously, but one of the other ones that we had in there would have actually, it's taken 2 out today. So, it's getting decent movement. Isn't Head and Shoulders a shampoo? It is a shampoo. This game looks complicated. Yeah, crazy lines. This is easy. Are you kidding me, Jacob? What I do is easy. I could put a whole lot of lines on here if you want. Make it really, really, really confusing. If you want it, and people trade like that, but I don't believe in it. And these lines over here, these dots, these are just telling us where knockouts are. Knockout brackets. It's an options bracket inside of Nadex. Stop. All right, hold on, guys. I'm going to put the birds to bed real quick. See if that shuts them up tonight. All right, nighty-night. 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 No more talking. All right, nighty-night. No more talking. This trick works for a lot of bird owners. It doesn't seem like it works on mine. Is it on Steam? Is it on Steam? Yeah, right? Trading on Steam. All right, so that's what we got going here. Euro pound. So euro pound is an area you guys can see. We had this one set up from before. We hit, and this one didn't make it all the way back down. I think we had talked about this before, that it was probably worth one more, and it did. It came all the way back down. It went right to where I talked about the start of the move, and then ended up chopping sideways before coming up, coming down, and sideways. So it wasn't a trade you would have still been in. Worst case scenario, you would have been stopped out of break even. You were 70% of the way there. You would have obviously not held this trade on. Even if you did, it came all the way back in and then dropped all the way to halfway there. So again, this was an early draw from earlier in the week. It's hit here, went all the way down to profit, hit again, came almost all the way down, and then chopped back and forth. So it would not have been a position that we held for the rest of the week. All right, so where we are now. Okay, so price is coming back up, and there's a few things I want to kind of point out here. I'll do it on the 30-minute. This large candle right here, definitely something going on here, right? You see, like, there's 3 descending in a row. That's kind of what we just banked off of. Now, had you used this for an entry, you would not have gotten entered into the trade. You would have missed it by just a few pips. It was super, super close, and it got front run, okay? This is one of those hard situations because this is such an extended bodied candle here. You got to be on the lookout for it. Like, you got to be watching for it. Here, I'll move it over this way so you guys can see it a little bit better. Look at this. Wicks coming down, a little bit of a pause, and then wham, this thing got slammed down. Unfortunately, you would have missed entry on there. It's already moved. I think it's pretty close, actually, to target already. Yeah, it's about halfway. It's actually not. Let's see. Right there. No. There. So, yeah, about 70% of the way through to target. I was watching this one. I had an alert. The alert went off on this one. And I'm looking at it. I'm like, all right, I can throw an order right there. And it didn't make it. It turned and flipped and went to the downside. That's how I know you would not have gotten entered. Because I actually had this one like a pip before it. And didn't get entered. So, what can we do now with it? The fact that it got front run typically tells us that there are sellers there. It's probably good for one more shot. It's pulled away enough. If it kind of pulls up again, that would be kind of that opportunity. Now, it's right around this 89.50. Obviously, the 50 is going to be a psychological level that people are kind of drawn towards. But unfortunately, it got right to that level and just literally it flipped. I like where the 1 to 3 is on this one. I do not like the 1 to 5. We had this basing level here and pop out the top. So this target would not be a great target. Don't go past 1 to 3 if you guys are using this level for a short. All this analysis is drawn off of this little zone, though. Okay, so again, on the hourly, again, you can see the wick over wick, and it takes the top side of it. There are a few other small levels here, although none of them are as clean or as powerful as this one. This is the largest candle on this chart right now. And that's why this one got front run and probably pushed back to the downside. Now, this one right now is kind of going against what you're looking for. So in the pound dollar over here, we're looking for this to continue to push to the downside, which is pound weakness, dollar strength. In this one, you're seeing what? You're still seeing pound strength and euro weakness because it's still going up. So it's kind of delayed a little bit. This guy, we're seeing quite a bit more movement to the downside. Like on the hourly, you're seeing a lot more, right? Here, you're still seeing an upswing. Okay, so we haven't gotten, again, Europe is obviously a weak place, but right now the pound is still kind of winning. And it's just, or the euro was winning versus the pound. We're not quite seeing that kind of rollover yet. So I'm looking to see the rollover here based off of this turn. Okay, we have it here, right? And you're starting to see kind of a pullback. I'm looking for the same type of rollover in this one as well, okay? Which would be kind of the retrace of kind of running into this zone here. Okay, so they're kind of going hand in hand here between these two. Okay, euro dollar kind of brings them all time together. So we had a level up here. It literally went up sideways in the level, kind of just rode the top and is staying in the level. So the euro dollar only moving 30 pips today really wasn't the best of days of it. Unfortunately, this is like the bad of the bad. Neither one of them seem to be putting a lot of effort in this right now as far as, charts. I mean, look at this. All sideways, a little bit of a pop, mostly sideways, a little bit of movement, retrace, a little bit up, retrace back down again. So it's not really the ideal situation right now. I mean, you can see that we're about, 70% of the way up. We're kind of sitting in a minor zone right now. We weren't able to push much higher. Now, this zone at the top is a junk zone. It's way too big. I mean, it's huge. It's like 88 pips. It's not a zone that you would go off. So you would have to use a lower time frame to be able to kind of, obviously, dial your risk down in it. And again, on the 4-hour basis, that's where these zones are more or less drawn off. So it's just not really clean. You're not seeing big bursts. The only big burst we have here, at least on a 4-hour, is down in this range. And with the two candles being, the two wicks being exactly the same spot, it's not even really like the best spot, right? There's a little one here as well, too. When you're looking at this, you can see that there's a little one here as well. And that was a retested one. So that may give us a little bit of a speed bump. But for the most part, it's like, okay, well, here was a pullback, and then we could have got in, right? And then, you could have used this one right here and say, wait, there's another one, and it pulled back and then went. And then you could use this one right here, and same thing, it pulled back, it didn't really leave the zone, it didn't put a high, and it was consolidating, but it pulled back into the zone and then popped higher again. So there's been a lot of buyers really pushing this pair, so it's going to kind of chunk back to the downside. And again, we typically want to take the path of least resistance, and this is not it. Okay, dollar CAD. So dollar CAD. I'm going to remove this short up top. It's been there forever, but we've talked about it a couple times at this point. It's just sitting up there and floating. This one has also been a similar situation. Today, obviously, again, 30 minutes. I'll drop it back to an hour so it's not as much. You can see we're literally running right through this same zone. Okay, we had a little bit of a pop pullback, and it's just staying. It's just sideways. There's just not enough momentum. We had a ton of momentum, right? On a 4-hour basis, we had a lot of kind of chop, and then boom, right? Two big kind of days in a row, or one here and then one big move here, and now it's just in kind of the chopping stage. Now, we do have areas of buyers below the 134.07, a little bit away, right? We're sitting 90 pips away. The daily ATR on this one is 112. So it's still got about another, probably another day with all the news. That area that is marked off also is where we had a gap here back from March 6th. Okay, March 6th was a magical day for everything. Well, we got one of those on the March 6th gap is sitting right at that same level, that 134.07. So it's got a bit to run. I'll probably be looking for longs at that time frame, just because, again, the momentum that it had off of this. I mean, this is obviously a bigger time frame, but just in that zone, I mean, you can see where it comes in at. It's sitting right below where price currently is. So we're riding right along that top. You're talking about, it's about a 60 pip zone, and that's why I said I will, you're going to want to dial this one down and not take 50 pips risk, and that's kind of what we had done before. And there's that green zone down there. Right down here. Okay. Send that one across. Let's see, hold on. Yeah, it's right there. It's off of a 4-hour zone. You guys see the lines right here? Yeah, so the draw's still good. So yeah, it's basically the 4-hour zone inside of that daily is what we'd be looking for. So still holding tough, but waiting for it to come along those lines. All right. Dollar yen. So you guys can see up here what dollar yen was bouncing off of. It was another one of the pairs that got front run. So it was pretty close. Pretty close and kind of pushed to the downside. I'm actually more bearish this position right now. It's very, very high on the curve. It actually put new lower lows in. It broke 2 different levels to the downside, and it's kind of failing to go any higher right now. We got about 20 minutes before this candle closes. It is not the most bullish candle in the world. It's currently bullish right now. If it closes right now and didn't move and do anything else, you would have to say it's bullish, but it's not very bullish. It's kind of like almost neutral bullish, right? Leaving that much wick at the top, especially towards the end where it got pulled, it pulled back from that top, meaning sellers are in there. So, hourly, we've gotten kind of, a little bit of a confirmation. Here you can see it a little bit better. It pulled back, and now it's having major problems grinding forward. Again, this one looks like it wants to turn and flip back to the downside. I mean, here you're going to run into some sellers. Obviously, price has been down here. This level has been hit multiple times in this range, right? Came here, came down, tried again. So it's put new levels in. Coming from that short, it's about 62 pips, so it's not like 100 or anything like that. But there's hourly zones in there right above where we are, right here. So if we do break a little bit higher, again, there is another opportunity to be able to get short this pair. But right now, it looks like it wants to turn and flip. And again, there's small minor trades. If you wanted to take something, you could get into a short position into that range and use this level as risk here. So like 9 pip risk, taking it back down to right here, 108.58. But I wouldn't be long this position or look for longs until you get back down to this range here at 108.40. Okay. Oh, there we go. Perfect. All right, dollar Swiss. Now you guys heard me say that I was kind of disappointed in dollar Swiss. It's just moving sideways. So I do like this level up top, and I mentioned this the other day. Obviously we have a nice little sell zone up top. It's been tested once at 96.06. I'm sorry, 97.06 is the bottom side of this. There is a knockout bracket in there at 97.19. Even if you take the entire zone, you're only talking about 20 pips. So, and that's on a 4-hour. So nice sell zone. The buy zone down here is not bad either. It's based off of a 4-hour, which tends to be pretty good. And the risk in this 4-hour is about 28 pips. So it's a little bit big. We could probably make it a little bit smaller. Let me actually go back and look at that and see if we could refine this one, since we're still sitting right in the middle. Yeah, we can refine that one down to here. So you're taking about the bottom 70% on that one. Along those lines. Okay. So you're looking at that. And again, this one is not huge. Along those lines. And then again, we already know the top side is right there. Okay. So top side has more profit in there. Bottom side is a smaller position based off of basically a daily zone, but it's a 4-hour kind of revision down to the 1-hour is what we're looking for. Here, I can actually do it this way. Make it a little easier for you guys. You just got a pink. There you go. So that's what we're kind of looking at. Sell zone up here, buy zone down here, looking for a profit target there, and then obviously profit target there. All right, top and bottom. All right, NQ. All right, so how about this action in the NQ? Look at this, blazing, 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 right? 30-minute, we talked about it coming up to that zone. You guys can see it tagged right into that zone. If you extend them across, right there. And again, remember, I had this a little bit lower because the ECN has it about 5 points higher based off of what Nadex does. But you guys can see it tagged it, shot right back to the downside. And again, it just fell right into a basic level is what it did. So, I would say I'm still bearish this position just for the fact that we are so so high up here. We'd marked this zone off before. Obviously, the huge miss today was a big deal, but I feel like again, it had its chance today with that huge miss. I don't know if, again, we'd have to have another huge miss tomorrow and maybe another huge miss on Friday for this to continue moving. Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to say in the overnight, I'm short. I think this one will come back down. Again, we're technically halfway through the short right now. There's the zone. It's actually a 4-hour zone that has marked this one off. So you can see where the profit target is. It's set here. You lost a ton of money. It's because you bought the wrong one, Jacob. If you bought the right one. Oh, God. No, Macy's? I would never buy Macy's. Why would you buy Macy's? Even a few years ago. Oh, no way. A mall stock? I mean, mall stocks would have been great in the 80s, but not now. I mean, they're all going out of business. Amazon is huge. I mean, if your wife would have said buy Amazon, you'd be a really happy person right now. She would let you know. Yeah, I mean, trust me. If you owned Amazon, because she was like, no, everybody's buying things online. You got to go to Amazon. Trust me, she'd be telling you this day, I'm the one that told you to buy Amazon. She won't admit that she told you to buy Macy's, but she would have told you. She would have been all over the fact that, she's the one that told you that. Some of the other day, it's funny, I saw like, it was like an ad or something like, yeah, my grandmother taught me everything. She said I should buy Amazon, and I should have listened to her when I was 20. It's like, I mean, yeah, I was in the tech bubble. I mean, yeah, maybe she had great foresight, but, typically you don't take investing advice from your grandmother just because she likes something, But, hey, Amazon worked out. Amazon's a beast. What are you going to do, right? But, yeah, Macy's, I've never done that. Just on fundamental reasons. But yeah, so this one's already in a down run. I do think this one will continue down in the overnight. As far as the S&P goes, you guys can see that the zone we had marked off, it was quite large. I mentioned this earlier. It was a big zone. I mean, I can show you here on the 4-hour. We had marked this zone off saying, hey, listen, this is probably where we're looking to get short this position. And it's bounced off of it. You can see on the 4-hour. It has come off. I mean, here on the hourly, you guys can see it's pushed back. I'd say the same thing. I believe that this one is literally, I think it's going to go down as well. It just, the acceptable risk level for what you had to take it for, it was quite large. Oh, excuse me. You could have taken this one in knockouts. I had this up earlier. Let me see. I didn't put them on the S&P yet. I thought there was a knockout somewhere close to this one. That's approximately, let's see. Yeah, there was one. What's that? 31.25. Yeah, there was one just a little bit higher. There's one at 31.32, which again, subtract 5 from it, it would have been, or add 5 to it, it would have been like here for me. So it would have been close. So I mean, there is one that you could have been in. I mean, it's there, but it would have been very, very tiny risk and probably not worth it. So again, analysis is great. I'm not going to take it on a larger position, but again, we had this one dialed down off a 4-hour. I believe this one was also from it was from this little base here. Test, and then bam, that's what we ran into. So again, bearish this one in the overnight, but I don't like it for anything long term. I think it's going to be dominated by the news tomorrow more than anything else. Interesting enough, though, if you guys look at this one on lower time frames, right? It's always great to look at it this way as well. You can see we're here right now. You guys can see right about here, right? All the news started coming. 8:30 is really where this thing took off. And then at noon is the exact same place we're at right now. It just kind of died out. A little bit of a pop-up, pull down, little pop, and down. And again, on the lower time frames, the same pattern that we talk about all the time. There's your fairly to go higher. Again, it wouldn't be this color. It would be red. Right? Would go towards the downside. Right? So everything says everything says red. I would put a profit target somewhere around in that level. Again, the 30.90 is probably the best spot. That's the last time we had basing before the kind of the nice rally up today. All right. News-wise tomorrow too, just again, be cautious. Tomorrow, this is what we got. Okay. This unemployment claim number will probably be affected, even though it's been, I mean, remember when this number back here was always bad, right? All these numbers here that were like astronomically bad. How did the market react? The market kept going up. So tomorrow it'll be interesting. If the number is really good, will it shoot the market back down again? I'm curious to see how that one works out. But again, just, we'll see. We'll play it by ear. Like I said, I'm liking the smaller time frames. There was a couple smaller time frame setups, but I think the NQ is a little bit better one to trade right now. The Dow ended up going through a zone today, and you can see this is just a slow grind all the way through it. And again, you didn't really have any explosive movement off of it. And I forget what this was. This was like an hourly level or something like that. You can see it's like in the middle here. It's kind of like, it's not quite in the gap. I forget which one I drew it off of. Yeah, it's like the very, very top of the 4-hour gap section. So, it was an interesting kind of draw. Not the best, but it ended up grinding right through it. You guys can see right here. It's off of this zone. So I was like, it spent a lot of time in here and then tested and went all the way to the peak, which is typically not a good sign. And it was kind of an aggressive play. I liked it more on the other two, and I was like, there could be a short here. And ended up just grinding through. So, I mean, it went higher than the zone. It didn't work. And again, the biggest thing was it was just a bit of a big zone more than anything else. And the grindiness is what I don't like about this one. I like this. Pops, returns, pops. It's just too much grind. So the Dow hasn't been, wasn't my favorite today. I think NQ was the best of all of them as far as the setups and the indices. Overall, though, none of them are really stellar. Like I said, I think a lot of these are wait until non-farm on Friday. They're watching TV as well. Traders are looking at the news and saying, okay, is this going to affect the market? Is it not going to affect the market? Yeah, we'll see. I think some of the funniest memes I've seen, though, have been, and there's been some good ones, but, it's like, so I forget it's I don't know who the lady is. She's got glasses on and she's like leaning over. I forget what movie it was from, but like she's like out of breath or something like that in the actual movie. And she's looking over and she's like looking outside to see like what stage of like the apocalypse we're in now or something like that. It was a meme, something along these lines. And I think that's kind of what the market's thinking right now. It's like, all right, what's going to be next? Are we going to weather this? Are we not going to weather this? And meanwhile, non-farm payroll is creeping up on us. And I think that's what's going to give us a big catalyst. All right. Gold. I mean, I did tell you to be bearish gold. Told you I've been bearish gold for a while, and you can see that this thing literally pulled back from those zones, came up, and it got hammered. It's obviously stabilizing right now. Again, why? Because it's bouncing off of zones to the downside. It's pulling back, and again, this is an inflation thing. We just haven't seen inflation the way that they would have liked. I'll remove this just to keep the charts a little bit cleaner, but remember this zone up top is still a great zone. This zone up here. I can just remove this. We can use this target. When price gets closer, we'll use the actual zone itself, not the retest of it. But, you can see, I mean, it's going down. Without inflation, this thing has nothing to drive it right now. And it had some big movement to the downside. There was a nice little way to get into this one right in here. You see this level of basing. I would actually have drawn it there, right? I would use this as the actual bit. And you can see it came up and just hammered through it. That actually triggered at 8 o'clock today. Typically, we're looking for reversals, and that reversal would have been here, 10 o'clock. Okay, so we did get a 10 o'clock reversal, but most of the movement was really in the early session today to the downside. So again, nice little pop. It did not go off of a zone, and that would have been the only problem. Had that gone just a little bit further, that's kind of in a situation where you want to reverse your position. This 10:30, 11 o'clock time hitting a zone, particularly on the hourly. We had to check that this was a good one, and it literally got front run by a little bit and bounced. But that would have been nice. That would have been a nice little run right there. But there was your short early morning. Now, again, a lot of people are not trading at 8. Nice pull back up into a zone and just hammered. Let's see. And just so you guys are aware, you could have said, well, wait a second. How did we know? Doesn't want to do the short. Okay. Look at the bottom of the screen. Can you guys see what time it hit? It says 8 o'clock. So in the 8 o'clock 1 hour window, it went up and then closed all the way down here. But what happened at 8 o'clock today? So you see how it's important to know what news is? So yeah, spiked right up into that range. And actually went at, let's see. Yeah, you can see it right here. Hold on. Yep, right at 8 o'clock. So 15 minutes before the news came out, what did it do? It rallied into the zone. Then the news came out right here on this candle, this first red. And then boom. So remember, when you want to sell something, do you want to sell it when it's cheap or when the price is high? Right? We're supposed to buy low and sell high. So what did they do? They rose the level of gold. At 8:15, the news came out, and that's when it collapsed. So again, that's why it's important to watch these things before the news releases. Okay. This zone is probably okay for one more hit. We'll have to see. It's quite a far away, ways right now. So, but this could potentially be up there. Again, if we grind through tomorrow, we may be able to rally back to that zone, and I'd be there for non-farm on Friday. So we will see. But yeah, that's why it's so important to watch your charts before news. Silver. Okay, silver has been pushing. And what did we talk about here? We said, hey, listen, we got our 1, we got our 2, we got our 3. Next time we'll be broken. And boom, what did it do? It broke. And it created white space. Now, this one would have been interesting to grab. So I'm going to extend this across so you guys can, here. So there's no cheating, right? There's your line. Okay. So it did push down and pulled back. It came down again. It went up and came back down again. Now, again, the risk level would have been here. So again, at no point were you stopped out. It would have been questionable whether or not you would have given this enough time. I mean, literally, it did two things. It started stabilizing, which is a pretty good sign, and say, hey, listen, it's stabilizing right below its basing. It's probably good to get short. There's your 1 to 3 profit target. If you didn't take it at that time and it came back up again, you're still in the position and you're technically still short. You're halfway to profit. You've locked it in. You can't lose money on this trade. Your stop loss is beyond break even, so you're going to make a little bit. Worst case scenario, there's the setup, guys. And how did I set this one up? This is the Harry Potter trade, right? For those of you that are new to the channel, the Harry Potter trade is just a momentum breakout or continuation pattern. It's when one of our zones gets blasted a few times, typically 3 or 4 is where they break, and the old zone becomes the opposite, right? This used to be an area of buyers, right? It was established here, popped it, went boom, 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 and then finally ran out of buyers. It popped through, and that group now became sellers. It popped up, boom, it shorted. Came back up, boom, shorting. So that's what it's working. That's what happens here. So again, this was one we put on 2 nights ago. This would have been Monday night. We talked about this one. Yeah. And again, this one was at the Nadex presentation yesterday as well. So again, another short that you guys are 70% of the way through if you already didn't hit your full profit target. All right. Oil. Where is my oil chart? All right. So here is the oil chart from yesterday. Talk about a blob, right? So this is the 30-minute chart. So we were up inside of that area. And again, what do? We collapsed all the way back down again. We kind of got back up, although not all the way back up to that zone. And then just kind of based, right? I mean, it's choppy, right? I mean, here's the highs and the lower highs. And, here's the lows, right? And the lows and the lows and the lows and the lows. And remember the zone that I talked about before that we had marked off? They were like, hey, listen, we're coming back through. Well, what did it do? The old area of sellers, because, right, sell. Boom. You got enough rally to push up. And then all of a sudden it became an area of buyers. Well, let's see here. If I extend this line across, what did it bank off of? Okay. So, again, old becomes new, right? Old becomes new. The mullet will probably never be popular again because that was old. But I feel like parachute pants from the 80s, I feel like they can make a comeback. Overalls, maybe jelly bracelets, maybe. Big hair, some bangs. I feel like that all could come back again. Old becomes new. Right? And again, this one validated itself yet again. I actually thought we'd get a bit more movement out of it today. Where is my forex factory at? Come on, load. All right, it's being weird today. All right, so here's the oil number. Okay. It was only forecast at 3 surplus, and it came in a bit negative, right? But typically when they're wrong by about 5 million barrels, typically you get a little bit more concerted kind of movement. I would say, if anything, this is more consolidated than anything else. You normally would expect for something like that a bit more of a trend. So I feel like this market was, I don't know, I feel like this one was almost a bit manipulated. Like this was kind of I feel like people knew what this data was beforehand. It should have trended a lot more. It should not have consolidated on that data. Being that it was negative, being that people are going back to work, I think there will be an increase in demand. And it didn't really hold, which is kind of weird. Now, I don't know if it's the protesting that is sending it off or what it is, but I feel like something just doesn't feel right about oil right now. The way that it's kind of reacting to not only that news, but price, states opening up. Like Maryland just went to stage 2 now from stage 1. Many other states are doing it. Demand's going to rise. Demand's going to rise. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But yet this is putting in lower highs and higher lows. So it's purely consolidating. And even a negative inventory number wasn't able to kind of bump it out. So it kind of is a little bit weird. I did not read investment books. I wrote psychology. Warren Buffett's investing style is based around Benjamin Graham, but slightly altered. Yeah, but Warren Buffett doesn't really have an investing strategy. He has a lot of money, and he gets deals and buys things that you and I can't buy. So don't believe too much that Warren says, because he's not buying the same stuff that you and I have access to buy. But yeah, so oil, guys, feels weird to me. I just be a bit cautious with it. Like I said, inventory reports have been great. Again, this was an opportunity today when that price was coming down. Again, bouncing off that prior zone of sellers and became an area of buyers. And again, we mentioned that when we saw it over here. Okay. Yeah, normally better setup for that one. It was. I mean, look at this. And again, demand is starting to go higher. The inventory report was negative. This should have moved more than it actually did. So I feel like I feel like the big boys knew what this number is ahead of time and try to kind of get in there and either stabilize it or manipulate it a bit more. Yeah, it should have had more movement than it actually did today. So, it's not going to move every day. That's why we have gold. Gold was the big mover, and then again, silver has some cool setups today too. So, every day is not going to be the best day of trading, guys. There's plenty of setups. Again, some of the ones I gave you this morning ended up working out great. Some of the ones from Monday night, again, still working out great coming through the day. Again, goal is to get one good one every day, and that's all you need. So, with that being said, make sure, again, we are not doing the Pip Chips giveaway this week. Remember, this week, the tickets that you're buying are going in for the sweatshirt. The sweatshirt contest will be for tomorrow night, right? So tomorrow night, like right now, let me see. I'm going to go over there. Let's see. How many people have bought tickets for this giveaway so far? Come on. Giveaway. So right now, we have 11 different people that entered with 54 tickets purchased for the sweatshirt. So, and again, anybody that's in the channel can put in a ticket. You just do !ticket to get put in the drawing. Tomorrow night at the end of chart school, I will go ahead and I will close the giveaway, and I will go ahead and end up, again, picking the winner. And then the winner just has to give me their information over Twitch, or you can do whatever Discord, whatever one's easy for the Discord members. And you guys get a color, and you guys get your choice. You can get the regular KTS logo one, or you can get the Pip Chips one if you want. I would vote for the Pip Chips one. I think that one's a pretty cool. You give me the size, give me the color, and I will get it sent to your house. So that is true, but he's still an incredibly smart man, and the way he evaluated companies is fantastic. Yeah, Jacob, but if you actually, there's a couple actually interesting reviews and books that I've read on Warren's style. A lot of people think that Warren Buffett is a stock investor, and he's actually not. All his money's been made off of options, not stock, where people think he's a good stock investor. And before he says anything, he pretty much has to report it back to the SEC, because he's one of those people at this point that when he speaks, he has the potential to move the market. So he has to get more or less kind of approval, for lack of a better, and I am saying, quote, approval, to be able to kind of say things. Because he can say, I don't like this market, it's negative. And a lot of people will go out there and start selling because Warren Buffett said so. So, aren't they 25 Pip Chips a ticket too? Yep, they are 25 Pip Chips a ticket. Yep. Remember, Will's plan is that Ernest will whittle down all his Pip Chips, and then he's voting for Debbie or La Marina to step in and win with one ticket. That's what Will's plan is. He sent it to me, and it's kind of a conspiracy. They're going against Ernest. So that's the thing. It's like they want the free sweatshirt, but at the same time they don't want the free sweatshirt. It's like, it's going to cost me Pip Chips. Yeah, so it's kind of like you got to take the risk, or you can, again, the girls keep taking stuff with one, and they're looking at this going, hey, wait a second. If Ernest blows, 1,000 Pip Chips to get this sweatshirt, that means I'll be ahead of Ernest, Will out there doing algebra. He's doing like trigonometry or something like that, right? Debbie's like, I got a sweatshirt, but if I can take over the Pip Chips lead from Ernest, Like right now, it looks like over here. I don't even know if that's accurate. I feel like it is. Let's see. Leader. Yeah, like right now, Will's looking at this and Will's licking his chops. He's like, I'm at 1826. And Ernest is like, yeah, but I'm winning a sweatshirt. And you won't win because you've won 2 this year already. You won't win till 2021, and I'll win a bunch. So I will retake my lead. That's what's happening. Ernest's like, I got deep pockets. And you got like Debbie over here. Debbie's like, but I'm only going to spend 1. Marina's like, I'm spending 1. James will come in big tomorrow night. James will be like, how many is it? All right, put them all on the line. I'm taking this. So, all right, guys. With that being said, it's 5 after. I can tell my voice is starting to go. So I will catch you guys. I'll be around on Discord tomorrow if you guys need me. If you guys want to bounce anything off me. And if I see anything really good in the morning, I'll go ahead and pop it in the channel. But if not, I'll catch you guys tomorrow night for the drawing as well as chart school going into non-farm payroll. I'm also probably going to do... I don't know if I'll stream for non-farm or not. Maybe I will. Last time I tried to stream for non-farm, it was like too difficult to stream and put my own positions on. So I don't know if I'm going to do that again or not. But we'll see. I'll figure it out tomorrow night. But I'll catch you guys tomorrow, and you guys have a good day. Trade smart tomorrow, and have a good one.